I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order. We have to discuss nuisance alarms. I believe where it was left off, there were two main issues. It was who can write the ticket for a nuisance alarm, and I think it was agreed that we just wanted the elected chiefs to be able to write a ticket, not any acting chief, right, I think, and that the fire inspector could write the ticket. Then there was also an issue about should the person have a reasonable amount of time to get the alarm fixed. Like, say they had a part that would take 3 or 4 weeks they had to order. They didn't want them to get penalized, for all the alarms in between. So I'd ask Chief Brady to come up, and then Alex drafted a second resolution, correct?
Yes, I drafted 2 of them back 2 years ago.
Right, so to address some of those issues, but maybe Chief Brady can kind of update us on the nuisance calls this year.
Well, we got a few businesses and properties in Middletown that definitely could be classified a nuisance alarm, and I think it's up to the business owner to take responsibility for his building. Most of them are smoking. 29 Center Street, that was nothing but smoking. There was no anybody pulling a pull station. That was all. Every time we went there, it was smoke. Either whether it was marijuana or cigarette, it was smoking. We have another business that we go to, not as much, but quite frequently, and it's the patrons go into the bathroom, very small bathroom, and they're vaping, and it sets off the alarm. We're responding $1 million fire trucks for smoking. If it was food on the stove or burnt food or something like that, that's one thing. That's not a nuisance alarm. The detector did its job, but it's becoming more repetitive. And, again, the call volumes are going up. It just is putting more wear and tear on the apparatus, more wear and tear on the membership. I know this started a couple years ago, and then it kind of got stalled out because of who can write the violation. I agree, it should be the fire chiefs. There's 4 of us, the Board of Engineers, or the fire inspector, who would be directed by me anyway. But to your second part, they're not going to get banged with a violation on the first try. They're going to get a verbal, and then I think Alex said on the resolution it will say a written. So they're already getting notified. So I think if it gets to that point where it's, again, if the resolution will say it maybe 3 times, then the fees start accruing. And that usually gets a little more attention than a verbal or a written when you start paying money out of your pocket. Now, and I also heard you say something about parts. I do this for a living. There is no waiting for parts.
Oh, okay.
And again, there is other excuses that could be used, but I'm afraid that they're going to start using that as their catch-all.
Right.
Oh, we're looking at it, we're waiting for a part. A lot of it's just them policing people going into spaces where they're not supposed to be going into, and vaping or smoking, and it alleviates a lot of the issues. That's the four fire chiefs sat down.
Before Center Street, do we have any other properties like Center Street?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I give you addresses if you want them.
No, that's all right. No. And I think the notification will work, right? So you get them a written, or verbal, or whatever. Yeah. That puts them on notice to call their alarm company. If it happens Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the alarm company's not coming out till probably Monday or Tuesday. But that gives them a notice to call their alarm company and get the ball rolling on fixing the issue.
No, I agree. It's, again, we're just going to use Center Street as our, it was 49 times in 10 months.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many times the trucks roll out and everything, and the fuel and all that.
And it's just, and they're scared us just because then they started getting more reluctant to leave the building. Like, they weren't evacuating. Winter's coming, now they know they're going to stay inside. They're definitely not going to go outside. And they started discharging fire extinguishers inside. And that's why that one became such a hot topic, because we were afraid one night we were going to pull up and have a catastrophe going. But no, we do have other properties where we call down there our frequent flyers. So,
Anybody have questions for the chief? About this? All right, could I call up Alex? Thank you, chief. Could you update us on the second resolution that you
Sure.
wrote?
We just want to clear something up, though. You're using the words, who has the authority to write the
Yeah, I'm not
violation.
sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Site, whatever.
I'll give you an example. With the DPW, when they issue violations of the code, they get authorization from Jacob to do it. That doesn't mean Jacob writes it. The person who has the evidence, who saw the violation, writes it. It would be the same thing here. You just have to decide who's going to have the discretion to authorize it. Then the person who witnessed it writes the violation, because the violation can't have hearsay in it. So what I did in the second one is after one nuisance false alarm, the fire chief or chiefs or the inspector, in their discretion, can issue a written notice to the property owner or the leaseholder who's in charge or who's doing the operation, to take immediate steps to correct the system, okay? Then, the property generates another false alarm. The fire
Excuse me.
chiefs or fire inspector, however you want to word it, I don't know, I know the mayor has some problems with it. The second step would be, in their discretion, they would schedule a meeting with whoever is at fault here, whether it's the owner or the leaseholder, to discuss the steps needed to rectify. Then, if there is another false alarm, or if the property owner or the leaseholder doesn't show up for the meeting, in their discretion, they can authorize the violation to be brought into city court. And I had the fines, the minimum is $100 or $500, and there's also a period of incarceration not to exceed 15 days, which we have on all our code violations. And the reason for that is not that we intend to put people in jail for these things, but because if you don't put jail as a possibility of the sentence, if somebody doesn't show up in court, you can't issue a warrant.
Alex, with the smoking, the system does work and it's working correctly, but people are smoking inside a place where they shouldn't be. Does that address that, or?
Not really, no.
Okay.
No. I mean, you probably would have to add something that if it's generated by that sort of nuisance, the meeting that we were talking about has to be with the leaseholder to prevent that, or the owner to prevent that from happening. Whether that that can be a tough issue, though. Does that mean the owner has to evict the tenants who are at fault? Maybe. There's got to be a discussion of what the steps have to be taken. So I didn't get presented with that. This is 2 years old, so I didn't get presented with that 2 years ago about, what if they're smoking weed or something and that's generating it. So.
The system did its job, or like what the chief said. Right?
Yeah, it's not
It's
not
nuisance
fixing the
to,
system.
the
It's
system
fixing the
keeps
people who
re-tripping
are.
and setting it off. That's what we're trying to prevent stuff. That the system did it, and we really can't punish somebody for the stupidity of people too.
Well, in the long run, it's comparable to DPW type violations. If it's the fault of the leaseholder, the people who are there, the property owner is responsible for what happens on the property. So is the leaseholder.
So right now,
You could take the leaseholder into court and not necessarily the property owner for that.
Alex,
We
are they
call
both
them
notified?
operators. What?
Are they both notified?
Well, you would have to do that.
Because if I'm the property owner and I'm leasing it out and I don't know,
Right. No, we could put that in there because, like I said, 2 years ago, I wasn't considering
Right.
the possibility that an operator, I call it an operator, it's really the leaseholder or the tenant. But under our DPW codes, it's owner or operator is responsible, and sometimes both. We often take both to court, especially if we're not sure who has more responsibility and who's really at fault, because oftentimes they point the fingers at each other.
Sure.
So you don't know.
Jude has a question.
Can we require them to have no smoking signs?
Well, inside, there's not, I thought there was no smoking inside.
Restaurants are.
Yeah, I think most restaurants put in the bathroom, no vaping, no nothing. 'cause
Yeah, and I don't know,
A
you're
lot of
not just
restaurants
talking
do
about
that.
commercial, you're talking about
Bowling
private
alley does
places
it.
too, right?
Correct. But
Yeah.
because if there's no sign,
Well, that should come from the fire chief, and when they send out the paid firemen to go out and do inspections, maybe,
Right,
you know.
or at the meeting that they have to rectify,
Correct,
that's the
correct.
kind of thing, that's the way to rectify
makes
it.
sense.
Right.
Makes sense.
We're talking commercial.
Yes,
talking commercial.
correct.
I mean, some of our, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some of our nuisance areas are the residential's multiple dwellings. 29 centers are multiple dwelling, mixed use, but all that issue was up on the multiple dwelling.
Okay.
So my guys that are going out doing their annual fire inspections aren't getting into that.
Right,
That would be Jacob and his multiple dwelling inspector.
right. But it's also downstairs, commercial.
Yeah, it's a mixed-use building. I
Right.
mean, we're using that building as our for instance, but, whatever,
Can I ask?
Yeah.
So, I'm a little confused, but, so why is it only the mixed use and the businesses that you're getting? I mean, do people have, like, 2 minutes to, if it's smoke going, to, like, not have you all come out all the time?
No,
Like,
because once the alarm triggers,
so, there's no, like, even in, so above the dwellings, like the owner, where there's apartments up, if someone in their apartment
it all depends,
trips.
Ken. It all
like, if someone's
depends.
cooking food on the stove, that's gonna trip it automatically?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
because of the,
We
that's what
we
I'm.
chase food on a stove, probably 300-400 calls a year.
But I'm saying it's because it's a business is why they're connected to, like, because like if my smoke alarm goes off, you're not automatically
No,
getting.
You have a local alarm.
Right,
Yeah, if it's tied into the alarm system, we're coming.
okay.
Right.
If you have
Okay, yeah.
if you have a monitored system, that's what triggers us. So like,
Commercial requires an monitoring system too.
yeah, it depends on the,
Requires
yeah.
a monitored system.
It depends on the business too, like, some of these like barber shops that are small, they don't require, a hardwired system. They can get away with a battery-operated local alarm. But it's when it's tied into the systems when we get called. So like, we'll use 29 again. What happened was going on there was inside the rooms are local battery-operated detectors on the ceilings. In the egress hallway, that's a hardwired system. They were taping off their battery-operated systems because they didn't want to hear it. When they're in their room smoking, they don't want to hear it. It's a nuisance to them. They open up that door, the smoke comes out of the room, hits that alarm in the hallway, we get notified. And so that happened 49 times.
Oh, yeah, no, that part.
I'm just,
Yeah.
So Mayor, we discussed authorizing just the chiefs and the fire inspector to write a citation or authorize it. And that was one issue I think we had because we didn't want temporary chiefs to do it. And then we talked about not just a faulty system, but like people causing the problems. And then should the landlord or the owner be, that's not in the second draft we made up. Should, like, and he cited examples where people are going to a bathroom, a small bathroom in a restaurant, vaping, and it's going off, and it's continuously happening, or in the hallway of the other place where they're smoking when they shouldn't be. So I'm not sure if we should write that in there. Is
I hear you, it can easily be written in.
that the responsibility?
The decision is, who's going to authorize it?
Well, who's going to authorize, make the referral? You mean? I thought it was going to be the,
Please use the microphone.
yeah, I thought the chiefs were going to make or someone was going to make a referral, and that either myself or Jacob would actually have to review, see whether we're going to have, or even you, whether you're going to press charges against one. What our concern was last year when this was discussed was that you have someone who's making an attempt, it's hiring, and remove the tenant stuff. They have a faulty alarm, it goes off 2 or 3 times over a couple-day period. The alarm company has been there working on it, and that, you know, they're making an effort that I don't see the benefit to us of bringing someone into court on that. But they would have to demonstrate, so I think it's not the fire chief's job to validate all that. Their job would be to make the referral after what they think is a nuisance part of it. And then someone within City Hall would then make the decision whether to bring charges against the person. Similar to what we do in code. The inspectors go out, they do what they got to do, but they don't bring the charges technically. They go through Jacob before they're allowed to bring charges. So otherwise you would have, you know, individuals, you'd have a lot of sheriffs out there
Right.
issuing tickets, and I think that's what we're trying to avoid, having a lot of sheriffs.
So Alex, would that be the authorizers, would be like the mayor or?
Well, it's up to you
Chief,
guys.
Commissioner?
It's totally up to you guys.
Think so?
The fire chiefs, though, I think, or the fire inspector ought to be the one setting up the meeting. Remember, the second stage here is setting up a meeting with the owner of the property or the operator, if the operator is the one at fault.
It's almost like a hearing.
And be after the meeting, if there's another false alarm, then there's a charge. So that basically has to be 3 steps, which I think everybody agrees on.
I just don't think it's a numbers game. I think it's,
Right.
someone has to show effort. You know, if NAS comes in and gives us a statement that they've been working on this system, and there's an electrical malfunction somewhere, and we've been retained and we're working on it. Not that just like been retained, we're working on it, then that's a different story. But I think there's a lot of subjectivity to, once it gets past the chiefs and I think the hearing part is important, where they bring the party in and say, here's what you're doing, here's what we need to do if you don't correct this problem. And then the chiefs will identify whether it's a tenant issue or, as you said, if they go into a building, they see it's taped up, we know it's a tenant issue. But 29, it happened to be both. And it was a combination of both malfunction and tenants.
So Alex, is your second draft address all that, or
Secretary.
your second draft address all that?
No, it doesn't address anything about the tenants.
Okay, and the hearing it has in there
I
though?
have to rewrite that.
Okay.
But you guys have to tell me, who do you want to be the final authorizing person?
Well, it sounds like the mayor wants to be, right, or?
I'm fine with it, or fine with it being.
Please speak into the microphone.
Well,
Okay.
See, the way it works with DPW, obviously, the code enforcement officers or Jacob sometimes come to me and say, is this a valid prosecution? Because sometimes we have legal issues just in the validity of it. And that's where I will say, either, yes, it's valid, or no, it's not valid. But that's not the decision on whether to bring it or not, in the discretion of, that stays with Jacob. That's not my discretion, and I don't think I should have that, let that be the chiefs or the mayor, whoever.
Chief, do you have anything to say about that, or do you have any, does that sound good to you, or? What are your thoughts?
Whatever everybody in this room wants to decide to make us stop going to all these calls,
all right.
I'm good with.
All right.
Whether it's, the mayor makes a determination, Alex, Jacob, the fire inspector, but the nuisance alarm is a long time coming.
All right, so could we ask, do you guys think that the authorizer should be the mayor, Alex, and Jacob?
I have no problems with that.
That sound good?
We're talking or.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, would you guys be comfortable if I ask Alex to write up a third draft with that, and including the tenants? Want to go around the room? What do you think, Ray?
I feel like we've had this conversation before in the past. It's like been there, done that. I've said it then and I'll say it again. Absolutely. I remember how many times did we go to Montessori all those years ago? Over and over and over. We roll trucks. It costs money. They can't keep doing it. I said it then. I'm saying it again. Let's just get it done so we don't have to keep talking about it.
Dr. Johnson?
Well, thank you, to the party. I'm not sure that it's as complicated as it seems. If someone's conscientious, they should be able to provide documentation. I have a receipt. This agency came and they replaced a fuse. and then the fuse blew, and now they didn't solve the problem, and they came again. Here's another receipt for another visit, so to speak. I'm a doctor, what can I say? It doesn't seem that hard. If the mayor wants to be in on the chain, that's fine. I think he has a lot on his plate besides addressing nuisance fire alarms, but if the powers that be think it should be a triumvirate of sorts, I'm good with that too. Thank you.
Jean-Francois?
I think the steps are, the 3 steps are fine, and I think it should come down to the mayor and Jacob and fire chief.
President Miguel?
I agree.
Okay. Alderman Massey? Good. Thank you. Alderman Kleiner?
Is Jacob okay with being part of this?
He works with the fire commissioner, the fire inspector now. So like our former fire inspector he didn't have all his courses. So he would go to Jacob and say, I need help, I need to bring this person, and Jacob would help out from the code side. So, and he reports to the mayor, so I don't think he has a problem.
All right, no, I agree with Chief Brady. Whatever will stop sending the equipment out needlessly, and if it's willful negligence, then it should be stopped.
You want to make it either Jacob or the mayor makes the final decision on whether to authorize it? If you consult with me, Jacob or the mayor. You guys do the meeting.
So when Alex has a third draft, we'll bring it back. We probably won't need as much time.
All right.
All right, thank you, guys. I'll call the meeting to close.
All right, thank you.